Unlike previous games, the logo animation is not synced with the whooshing sound effect.
There's a monster situation, potentially taking shape.
A monster situation?
Nancy knows all about the monster legend in her case file, but not in the game itself.
Once it is on the prowl, it won't return to the woods until it finds a new victim.
The monster returns to the woods multiple times. Who is the woman in the opening scene? It can't be the Freiherr's daughter because they don't look alike, and it can't be Renate's sister because Renate isn't there. Is it just a random nameless woman whose kidnapping mystery doesn't get solved? This happened a long time ago, but all the scenery is exactly the same as it is today. The monster catches up to the woman, even though she is sprinting and he is slowly shuffling. The monster should be visible here. Inconsistent text animation. The doorbell glows at the start of the game, but it never glows at any other time. How did Lucas and Karl get into this room? The castle is on the other side of the courtyard. Nancy keeps her case file with her for the entire game, even though she never uses it for anything.
You're bothering me. Sorry I bothered you.
Most of the German residents speak to you in English. None of the castle residents live inside the castle.
This way I can have everything prepared for your stay. But again, he has not done this correctly.
This is an unprepared room? If everyone is scared to death of the monster to the point where they never leave their houses or talk about it, why is there a gift shop full of monster merchandise?
A lot of the older people here say they've seen it, but none of them will say what it looks like.
And yet there are dozens of pictures of the monster in the gift shop. The monster growls are the same whether you listen to them in English or German, so why did they even bother giving you a language option? That was not matter-of-factly. This note contains the code to Karl's day planner. Who wrote the note and hid it here? Why did they do this? Every time Anja puts her papers down, they fall apart. Anja is awful at organizing papers. Nancy canceled her plans with Ned without bothering to tell him about it. Nancy is an awful girlfriend. Nancy had enough free time to make this scrapbook-style case file before leaving, but she didn't have enough free time to call her boyfriend.
Sorry, the reception is a little bad here.
The bad reception completely disappears 20 seconds into this minute-long conversation.
Nancy Drew, international sleuth, gets to go out adventuring, while Ned stays at home. Again.
Ned should be used to Nancy's jet-setting ways by now.
I'm in the middle of something pretty important here.
No, you're not.
I'm sorry I can't be more available, but
Why can't you be more available? No one is forcing you to leave the country every week. If you really wanted to spend time with Ned, you would have said no when Marcus asked you to come here and solve a mystery for free. Nancy takes absolutely no responsibility for her role in this fight. Instead, she blames Ned for the whole thing. The castle is supposed to be a tourist hotspot, but it only has one guest room. Karl spends more time playing with dolls than he does helping Nancy solve the mystery.
No, Monster Fräulein and Fräulein! These are not dolls!
It's pronounced Fräulein.
The last thing I need is the castle newspaper picking up on how bad things are.
The newspaper has already run multiple articles on how bad things are.
Deadly! We've had accidents. You could die down there.
Karl still lets Nancy explore this area unsupervised. Karl says the dolls are for his game, but you don't use dolls to play the game. Raid.
Just about using the best strategy and, of course, finding the coolest looking character.
That has nothing to do with playing the game. There's no strategy in this strategy game. You guess randomly and hope your opponent has a lower card than you. The three colors are green, yellow, and purple, but when you look at the board here, there's no purple. Karl doesn't care when Nancy steals his desk key right in front of him. The backgrounds to these cards are taken from other Nancy Drew games. Karl made a book for his raid cards before he finished making all the raid cards. This puzzle, if you don't take a picture of the cards ahead of time, it's pretty much impossible to solve. Marcus's letter to Karl uses the informal do when it should use the formal Z.
Since you're the best raid player I've met,
She played with you for 10 seconds, Karl.
no one likes lederhosen. Look at these. I look like a sad old Pinocchio.
Karl looks like a sad old Pinocchio, even without the lederhosen.
I saw him out in the woods last week.
Where is Magda? Can I talk to her?
You should leave her alone.
I just want to ask her a few questions.
I'm telling you that you need to leave her alone.
Karl refuses to let Nancy talk to the villager who saw the monster. It's like Karl is trying to impede her investigation.
I hope his brain is under warranty because you have broken it.
And Ned's brain never worked perfectly to begin with. Joe has more time for Ned than Nancy does, even though Joe lives in a different state.
But you might want to give him a call. Ugh, this connection is awful.
Frank shouldn't be able to hear the bad reception because he's the one who's talking.
Hello. You've called Ned's telephone. Please leave a telephone message.
Ned's stupid voicemail message.
Nancy, what happened? You look very sad.
No one else notices Nancy's sad expression.
At the same time, he needs to let me live my life.
Nancy complains that Ned is too controlling, and while that may be true, that's not what their argument was about.
Nancy Drew, is it?
How does Renate know Nancy's name ahead of time? Did Karl tell her? It seems weird that he would tell a random guest about her before telling Anja. Storytellers are used to dealing with words, yet our introduction to Renate is her throwing a hissy fit over the word officially.
Leave while you still can, Nancy.
Renate openly threatens Nancy multiple times. Renate is a jerk.
You don't believe me? Then that is your own problem. Now leave me alone!
Renate gets mad when Nancy calls her out on her lies. Why didn't Renate tell Nancy the entire truth from the start? There's no reason for her to keep everything a secret.
Oh, yeah.
Renate eats the entire slice of cake in 3 bites. Renate instantly falls asleep after eating cake. That's a little worrisome. This puzzle. Why does Renate have chicken-scented markers? Why doesn't Nancy drag the bag a few feet away so Renate won't hear her going through it? Nancy should be visible in this shot.
I need to figure out the color code to open this.
Renate will wake up because a pencil dropped in her bag, but she doesn't wake up when Nancy uses this loud device. Puzzle reused from Secret of the Old Clock. Someone wrote down the clues for the final puzzle of the game, then scattered them all over the castle. Who did this? Why did they do it? How did they learn the puzzle solution in the first place? Nancy doesn't look on the backside of these pages. These pages go all the way up to page 25, but the book is much longer than that.
It has gotten past the gates. This has never happened before.
According to Renate's map, it's happened many times before. The map says the monster was sighted while it was standing inside the glass furnace. Nancy gets this map at the start of the game, but she can't investigate any of the monster sighting locations until the end of the game. If you win Monster, you get cards for Raid, so you play a game in order to play a game.
Do you visit Anja in the shop much?
Oh yeah. Want to hear a secret? If you give Renate food, she falls asleep in like a second.
That has absolutely nothing to do with visiting Anja. Why doesn't Lucas's father watch him? Nancy only sharpens the shears on one side. Unlike the other items here, Nancy doesn't take the pry bar right away.
I'd better start working on my sleuthing.
Sorry, the connection is bad. I'll call you back from the landline.
Nancy abruptly ends the "let's not break up" conversation. That's a bad sign. The only way to open the door is to pull a lever inside an open furnace. This is a major safety hazard.
Prime Minister told me that my yacht was fantastic.
Germany doesn't have a prime minister.
Wow. I do not care about that problem.
Marcus is a jerk.
It'd be nice to stumble across a nice mystery now and again.
It doesn't exactly work that way.
That's exactly the way it works.
Oh, I installed something on your phone for just the occasion. It's
Ned installed apps on his girlfriend's phone without her permission. Why didn't they fight about that?
It can help you even better than I can.
Ned admits his hints are useless.
It's gotten past the gates.
Why don't they close the gates to keep the monster out? The gates were closed when Nancy first arrived. How did they know the monster is responsible for this? No one saw the monster do it. It easily could have been someone else.
I'm going to tell Marcus that whatever happens to you is no longer my responsibility.
Karl is terrible at his job. The forest maze is difficult even if you have the map. This puzzle. Nancy finds a hidden passageway cliché.
I better take that stone tile with me. I don't want anyone following me through.
How does she take the tile from the other side of this open door? The newspaper says the word for snake is das Bär, but that's the word for bear. There's nothing to indicate there's a map of the hidden passageways here. You just have to be lucky and hope you find it on your own. You can leave and re-enter the hidden passageways at all of the exits, except the one in Nancy's room.
This looks just like the boulder I saw in that old picture.
And by old picture, Nancy means the random piece of paper she found in the hidden passageways. How did the author of the book know the real-life necklace was buried in this location? For that matter, how did the author get a picture from underneath the trapdoor in the dungeon? Anja read the entire book and set up camp here, but she didn't find the necklace on her own. If you enter Nancy's room through the passageways and not the door, the bucket of water magically appears in the room. You can't do the water bucket prank with a closed door. It has to be partially opened first. It's lucky for Anja that Lucas put the water bucket on Nancy's door, otherwise Nancy might have foiled her plans by not wearing the traditional dress. This portrait is unprotected, despite being over 400 years old and almost destroyed once. The painting should be titled Die Tochter des Freiherrs. Also, the description should read Obwohl es versucht wurde.
Why does everyone just call it the monster? At least give it a name. After all this time?
The newspaper has already given the monster a name.
I am a magnet for bad luck.
Why does Karl think he has bad luck? He won an election even though he's not remotely qualified. That is some amazing good luck.
You do well to distance yourself from what you see in those paintings.
There is only one painting.
Can you go distract Karl? I've got a really great prank idea, but I need him distracted.
We never learn what this prank is.
Pranks are stupid. I've got better things planned than just stupid pranks.
Lucas says he likes pranks, then he says he doesn't.
That's what it's like when I hear the monster.
Anja talks about hearing the monster multiple times, but we never hear the monster when we're wandering around.
I'm not certain, but that might be the original necklace. That's what all those girls were wearing when... well, you know.
All the kidnapped girls were wearing the same necklace. That's impossible, unless the monster returned the necklace after every kidnapping. Lucas's father leaves a note about how to find the security booth, even though the door is in the same room as Lucas. Lucas should be able to see his father enter the room. Lucas's father says he can be found in the security booth, but whenever Nancy goes inside, he's not there. Seriously, where is Lucas's father during this game? The monster attacks the castle multiple times. The chief of security should be here for this.
Where is the security booth?
I can't just tell you that.
Why can't Nancy ask anyone else where the security booth is?
There must be directions for how to use this somewhere.
Nancy says this even if you've already seen the directions. How is Renate able to hide the decoder wheel and the cuckoo clock when she doesn't have the clock key? How did she get the decoder wheel from the security booth? Why does Renate hide the decoder wheel and the cuckoo clock? The header in the first email has a slightly different spacing than the other two. Nancy lures Karl and Anja away with false alarms multiple times, but they never complain about it. Both Lucas and Nancy say Karl has love letters in his desk, but there's only one letter. This puzzle reused from Danger by Design. These notes are written in English, even though you have to set the wheels to German words.
Someone in the courtyard. It's the monster.
How does Nancy recognize the monster from this distance?
Monster sighted on castle grounds. This message will not repeat.
Why don't they repeat the security alert? What if someone was in the bathroom and didn't hear the alert? Now they're gonna be monster food.
It's the monster.
Again, how does Nancy recognize the monster from this distance? All I see is someone's back. Who lowered the gate? Slider puzzle reused from the final scene in Secret of the Old Clock.
How How did you become a storyteller?
Nah, it's a long story. What? Nothing? That was a joke!
For storyteller, Renate has bad comedic timing. The postcard shadow gets darker when Nancy takes off the price sticker. Why didn't they include the letters when restoring the painting? All the reproductions have the letters. I find it odd that Anja lists her elementary school on her resume. Why does Anja's resume list the fact that she's single? What does her dating life have to do with her job? German isn't on the list of languages that Anja speaks. Anja's resume has only one bullet point in the special skills section. That is a major resume no-no.
I found an email from you that says otherwise.
I'm afraid that I don't know what you're talking about.
I found an email that says otherwise.
Whatever you think you have found doesn't concern me. I don't know what you're talking about.
It was in an email you wrote.
Nancy doesn't suspect Anja's emails are fakes, even though Marcus denies he wrote them multiple times.
Thank you for calling Castle Cast, your one-stop staffing solution for castles, reenactments, Renaissance cuisine, and realistic sword-fighting demonstrations. Ask us about our wizard discount. My name is Jordan. How may I help you?
You have to sit through this long spiel every time you call Castle Cast.
I'm Anja, the Castellan.
What position is she in?
Castellan.
The game is inconsistent about the pronunciation of Castellan.
Please, I'm begging you, please don't tell.
If I don't, you need to. I'll be checking.
Nancy never checks.
It's the monster again.
Lucas's big prank is to dress up like the monster, then stand around in the glass room by himself for a few minutes. This is a bad prank.
It's Lucas! He's missing!
Could it just be another one of Lucas's pranks?
I wish it was. It's not his style. He wants to be there to see what's happening.
According to Karl, this prank is out of character for Lucas. Nancy opens and shuts the door without disturbing the sand here. The footprints on the stairs are there when Nancy leaves the room, but not when Nancy enters the room. Nancy doesn't notice that Lucas's monster disguise is a different color from the monster she saw earlier.
Nothing?
Lucas's collar changes colors.
But this is the first time I've done this, I swear.
Yeah, I've heard that one before.
When? Both Anja and Lucas show up in monster disguises in the same place at the same time. That's too much of a coincidence for me. We're on the second floor. What is the monster standing on?
Lucas, quiet! I need to see which way he's going.
Why? Nancy doesn't try following the monster, so why does she care where it goes?
I'm out of here.
We hear Lucas run away, but we don't hear him pick up his costume.
Thank you for not getting me in trouble. For that, I'm gonna help you track down that monster.
Lucas doesn't do this. Who hid the second decoder wheel behind the tile puzzle? It couldn't have been Renate because one of the tiles was in the locked glass blowing room.
But you saw the monster?
Yes.
Okay, good. Lots of people are claiming that they've seen the monster. We're going to need a lot of evidence to get the castle to believe us. I know you can do it, Nancy.
Nancy gets proof of the monster when Karl tells her to, but she doesn't get proof when Anja tells her to.
Looks like Renate knew exactly where the monster was going to strike.
How did Renate know this? Renate knows exactly where the monster is going to strike, but she doesn't use this information to stop the monster or warn people to stay away. The monster has been sighted in multiple places, but Nancy can only explore one of them. Nancy finds the scarf that belonged to Renate's sister. This raises so many questions. Who left the scarf here? Why did they leave it here? How did they get the scarf in the first place? Who kidnapped Renate's sister? How does this picture prove Lucas isn't the monster? Nancy knows where the monster spends all its time, but she doesn't tell anyone about it. The monster paces around the forest for hours at a time for no reason. Why would Anja leave this coded message for herself? She already knows the plan is to dress Nancy up as the victim. It's pointless for Anja to write coded messages for herself because Renate had one of the code wheels. Anja wouldn't have been able to decode her own message. Since Anja wrote this coded message, does that mean she wrote the other two? Because the second message has a clue for the final puzzle, and if she wrote that message, then she should have been able to escape from the trap at the end of the game.
Why would Anja be going out into the woods?
Nancy can ask Karl about Anja entering the forest, but she can't ask Anja about it. The door magically locks behind Nancy when she goes to find Lucas. This puzzle.
I need you to go and get help. Get anybody, okay?
Okay, I'll be right back.
Lucas promises to get help, but he doesn't. Lucas is a liar. This room was empty a few seconds ago. Where did Anja come from? How was Anja able to open the trapdoor without the necklace? Why did Anja throw Nancy through the trapdoor? She's already got Nancy trapped in the room. There's no need to double trap her. Why was it necessary for Anja to dress up like a monster in order to kidnap Nancy? She could have done that as her normal self. For that matter, why did she have to kidnap Lucas in order to kidnap Nancy? She could have kidnapped Nancy outright. To solve this puzzle, you want to press the pictures that are on the pages in the correct order, but you have to start with the necklace, which isn't on the pages. This puzzle. There's a hidden passage inside the hidden passage. If Nancy calls for help, everyone refuses to talk to her. Why are all the exit doors locked all of a sudden? Why did Anja leave this bag here? The book title says it has multiple tails, while the preface says it has one. The book explains the monster is a hoax and none of the kidnapped women ever existed, besides the Freiherr's daughter. So who kidnapped the Freiherr's daughter? If nobody was ever kidnapped, what happened to Renate's sister? If nobody was ever kidnapped, then why is there an opening scene of someone being kidnapped?
Email has tomorrow's date.
And the print date on the top is from 2 days ago. These emails would easily be proven as fakes. The word "the" is missing from the first sentence. Why isn't there an author's name on the cover of this book? Why does Anja kill you immediately if you accuse someone else of being the culprit? The monster mask has fake eyeballs. How did she see while wearing it? Anja's arms are at her sides, now they're above her head. Anja should know it's possible to escape from the trap room because Nancy just did it, but she doesn't try escaping from the room herself.
Don't leave me here!
That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm the girl in the dress, and you're the monster, remember?
One day, I will find you.
Well, there's the waiting list. I hope you're patient.
Nancy openly taunts Anja multiple times. That's surprisingly mean of her.
He thanked me for my help and promised me a special surprise in the future.
This never happens.
I hope to meet her again. Maybe I'll even hear the story of our time together in Castle Finster.
There's a story about what Renate and Nancy did together? All Renate did was threaten Nancy and eat cake. That would be an awful story.
As for me, I'm finally coming home. I can't wait to get back.
Nancy says she's finally coming home while sitting at home. Why is she writing a letter to Hanna from her room? Hanna lives with her. Why is there a trivia question for this game? You don't get an award for it like the other games. The newspaper says the word for snake is bear. Bear. The newspaper says the word for snake is bear, but that's the word for bear. Die Tochter des Freiherrs. Die Tochter des Freiherrs. Die Tochter des Freiherrs. Hairs, okay. Freiherrs. Obwohl es versucht wurde. Obwohl es versucht wurde. Obwohl wurde es versucht. The painting